My current house has 2 floors, but originally it was only one and the second was built over several years. While I was growing up, my parents say that when I was just a baby, footsteps were heard every night on the second floor. Back then they were just foundations for walls and nothing more. One day they decided to go up together to see what was causing that noise, but when they were going up the stairs they heard something jump and go away. One day they left me with my grandfather and they stayed hidden between some boards. The whole house at night they waited, until they heard some flapping, so strong that they felt the air that they were causing to where they were. My dad came out with a machete, but whatever was up there flapped so hard that the wind did not let it get close and that thing flew away. The next day they called a priest to bless the place. The years passed, and when I was a little older, I liked to stay up until 3 in the morning reading books in my bed while everyone was already sleeping. However, I stopped doing it because sometimes I also heard footsteps on the second floor, and sometimes they even ran back and forth, but they always returned right to where I was lying, as if I knew I was there and that I was listening to it. Currently the cast has already been blessed several times and now my room is on the second floor. Sometimes I can still hear footsteps outside my room. After I started university in the capital of my country, and I had to move, I continued with the same habit. I used to sleep very late and then sometimes I didn't even sleep. On one of those nights I was talking on the phone with a friend and we started arguing. I don't remember why. In the distance a cry was heard, but at first I didn't pay much attention to it, since practically around the corner there was a bar and there was usually a lawsuit. Time went by and the cry began to attract more attention, since it was heard very far away and it sounded creepy for having been a fight or something like that. It already seemed too strange to me because of so much curiosity that he gave me. I told my friend to stop making noise because I was listening to something very strange, that he was not going to hang up on me because I was starting to get scared. At that moment my neighbor sent me a message asking me if it was just her or I heard something strange. That's when it really started to scare me. We agreed to go out and join together to see if it was a disturbance in the bar. We met on the corner. She went with her dad and we saw that the bar was closed. We never really knew what that complaint was, but it was chilling to hear that woman screaming in so much pain. But now something strange happened to me. It all started by listening to a video from this YouTube channel. I wanted to listen to a video. Apparently it was a doll that looks as if it were a human being. I don't know how else to tell it, but I'm sure you've heard of it. It was around 10 at night. I put the video on and I felt like they grabbed my leg. I logically removed it, but after a while I was still curious to continue listening to it. I played it again and listened to how it was whipping at the patio door. I got scared and removed the video. I didn't play it again. There was no air that night, nor did anyone enter my house. I put on some songs to relax. Later I went to bed and heard how the plates and chairs in the dining room began to move. Shortly after they stopped listening, but now it got worse. I could hear how they walked and dragged something on the roof. The dogs did not stop barking and it continued like this for about an hour. I don't know if it was some spirit or someone I wanted to go in to steal, but the truth was a lot of coincidence. Many paranormal things have happened to me, and although I try to think logically, I still feel afraid because of the experiences I have had. And finally, it happened a few days ago in a school. It was already very late. There were a few minutes to go before 9 at night. There were very few students left. Some were playing on the courts. Before they left they had work to do, so I looked for a very bright and quiet place. So I went to a room that is in the back of the campus. I sat in front of everything was normal at the blackboard until I heard a knock in the background, which I supposed came from a corner cabinet. I turned to see what it was and there was nothing. I thought maybe the wood of the cabinet had cracked. Although it sounded like someone was touching it, I was uneasy. But I continued working as soon as I had turned around when 2 more knocks were heard. Then I got up and my first reaction was to take my things and get out of there quickly. I went to the first building where there were some students and teachers ready to leave, but I had curious to know what happened in that room. I took a little courage and decided to go record, and although I was afraid I might capture something, between slowly and recording from the corridor, the echo of my footsteps was heard. and when I got to the room I tried to walk through it as best as possible looking for an explanation, or evidence of what had just happened there. I didn't notice anything strange and no more blows were heard, so I withdrew. Once I was at home I started to watch the video. Maybe I would notice something that I didn't realize at the time. And that's the first thing I noticed, was that just as I moved into the room, the video was distorted. Some horizontal stripes appeared. Then I kept walking, and before I left I heard a train, which is not unusual since there is a track nearby, but until then I hadn't noticed anything else. However, when I showed the video to my girlfriend I was scared when she told me, "You heard it." We repeated the video several times in that part until you didn't know what I was hearing. It was a sigh and then a slight noise. At first she thought it was me who sighed. But it was the voice of a woman, and it was heard further away. I had the phone very close, so that it would have been heard much louder if it had been me who made that sound. I also noticed that after the strange noise the strips of the video faded. The next day I went to look into that room early. I thought that someone had tried to scare me by touching the furniture from the window. But my surprise was that the window faces a garden from which there is no access. Since then I stopped entering the room, but I still hear that woman's breathing when I answer the calls on my phone.